brought honor to the school through their leadership, their character, their achievement, and their service. The recognition of you all tonight and your contributions to Sparta will forever serve to provide models for future generations to emulate. Martha Land, Mount Tabor principal of 17 years, and the late Nash Hardy Jr. formed a love for Mount Tabor High School, and that love helped to form a foundation for excellence. Their care and nurturing helped to provide and help to create our vision statement that reads and embodies excellence in every endeavor. Doc, John, Coach Cook, Betsy, Chris, and Thad, I salute you, I thank you, and I will forever be grateful for your service to the best high school in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system, the region, and the state of North Carolina. While I'm here, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize a special guest, Dr. Lionel Cada, who is our instructional superintendent here at Mount Tabor High School, is here joining us for dinner tonight, so I want to recognize him and thank him for being here. At this time, we're going to go ahead and begin the commencement of our class of 2017. Our first inductee, Dr. Thomas L. Brown, and I guess Doc, if you can stand. Doc Brown has been a generous yet behind-the-scenes supporter of Mount Tabor athletics. When the school system was having to make difficult decisions and cuts to our athletic departments in the 90s, Dr. Brown saw this opportunity to help male and female sports programs of his children's school here in Tabor City. With Dr. Brown's donations, Mount Tabor purchased new uniforms for several sports, built new dugouts for softball, added a batting facility, and upgraded our weight room. On many other occasions and without display, he provided financial assistance to students. Prior to acting as a Mount Tabor High School parent volunteer from 1991 to 1995, Doc Brown coached Pop Warner football and Little League baseball from 83 to 90. He has dedicated his life to the development and guidance of youth sports programs in Winston-Salem and to women's health care. Dr. Brown practiced obstetrics and gynecology in Winston-Salem from 81 to 2009. He even watched many of the babies he delivered grow up, attend and graduate from Mount Tabor High School. Recently, he was recognized for delivering babies at Forsyth Hospital for 35 years. After retirement, Doc started teaching and now serves as an associate professor of obstetrics and gynecology at Lake Forest University School of Medicine. He says all of his enthusiasm was given to him by the grace of God. Doc Brown is married to his wife, Deborah Holden. His daughter, Jennifer, is a 91 graduate of Tabor, and his son, Thomas Jr., graduated in 1995. His stepchildren are Sarah and Matthew. Ladies and gentlemen, I proudly present Dr. Thomas L. Brown for induction into the Mount Tabor High School Spartan Hall of Fame.
Well, this is like, to me, an old homecoming. My one question for us guys out here, what we guys do, how did this all go so fast? I stand here feeling very humble and blessed to be included in such an august group. And thanks to those who thought it was worthy for me to be in here. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, I'm sorry. No wonder no one's laughing at my jokes. And I guess you're probably wondering why, worn out old Roby Gila and Doc standing here going in the Hall of Fame. I kind of thought that same thing myself. I wonder why I'm here. So briefly, and Aaron, he said 2 to 4 minutes he was this big. I mean, anybody who knows me knows how loquacious I can be. My wife even admonished me beforehand just to keep it down. Most of the stuff I was going to talk about is already written there, and everybody pretty much knows it. Hey, but let me just tell you my story real quick. Actually, it says 91 to 95. But actually, Jennifer started 4 years before that. And so, she was as a freshman, she was selected to be a cheerleader, and she went to the varsity because she was a pretty good dancer. And So being a good parent, like most of y'all out there, I thought it was necessary to go to the games and to support her. And of course, I only went to the games that she cheered in. There was the football games and the basketball games. And one of the things that I noticed was the paucity of people who were sitting in the stands at the time. Everybody out there is aware that football and basketball are probably the two main revenue-producing sports. And generally, you're pretty much supporting all the non-revenue producing ones like track and field, and volleyball. Mount Tabor had always been known pretty much as a soccer school, but everybody knows, let's face it, that most schools in the state are known for football. Well, Mount Tabor is not. Well, for 4 years, I went to these games and kind of just made this observation. Matter of fact, I remember going to a basketball game one time and noticed that the basketball players, God bless them, were still wearing the little short shirts that we wore when we played. And all the other teams were wearing the ones that look like Bermuda shorts now. And they get on the foul line and they would pull their pants to make it look like they had them. You know, for a teenager to try to find their identity, that can be an embarrassing situation. Well, I put all this into my coconut. Jennifer graduated on to Wake Forest, and now she's grown up and she's a dean of business administration at Forsyth Tech. Has 2 beautiful grandkids over there who I love dearly. Sitting with my beautiful wife. Then along came Tom. Tom was a three-letter man, 3-sport man. He was a football player. He was a heavyweight wrestler. He was a big boy, and he was a catcher on the baseball team. He was coached by Ed Weiss and Frank Martin. And when Tom came here, he was a big guy, and the football team was really hurting for talent. I shouldn't say that. I think they always have a lot of talented guys. They just didn't have any big guys. And so Tommy was a big kid, and they wanted to move him up right away to varsity from freshman. And so before they even issued equipment, we were doing summer practice, they moved Tommy up to the varsity, and then when it was time to get issued equipment, he was taken into the room and he was given equipment. He came out with his little bitty shoulder pads that quarterback wears. So I went over to the coach and I said, Coach, he can't wear those. He's going to be an interior lineman. He can't wear those. He's going to get injured. He said, Doc, it's Oscar Bravo, what a great guy he was. He said, Doc, he says, this is all we have. And I said, well, I'm not going to let him play like this because he's going to get injured. He's in there with the big boys and where the rubber meets the road. So I took him over to Bocock Stroud. Remember that? That was a sporting goods store here, one of the old timers like me. And Kenny Duckett was working there. Remember Kenny? He's an all ACC wide receiver. He was working there, and I took him back, explained the situation to him. He went ahead and fitted him with a nice set. Tommy, if any of y'all know Tommy, Tommy was huge, and he had gigantic thighs. They had no girdle to fit him for hip pads. They had nothing to fit him, and they didn't have Bocock Stroud either. Well, Kenny, with his connections, called Wake Forest. It's called Sargent. Sargent was the equipment manager there, and said, "Come on over." They fitted him, so for his next 4 years, he wore Wake Forest girdles. So that was the first thing that I noticed. Okay, and there still continued to be a paucity of people in the crowds. Matter of fact, I remember going to one home game here, with the exception of the students. I counted 57 people there. And most of the time, they were parents. Okay. Baseball season was over. I played with Coach Weiss. And he was a catcher. And I said to the foul ball escape, flips his mask off. He ran into the fence to get it. The ball was out of play, but he ran into the fence. Coach Hayes, you might remember this. And he ran. The momentum, about 240 pounds, 250 pounds, carried him into the fence, and the fence kind of gave and then came back. But it gave more than it should have. I looked over at the corner of the fence, and there was a seat lamp on there that didn't have a bolt. Well, Coach Hayes directly came out. I said, "Hey, Coach, you don't need to fix that. Put a bolt in that thing." And he looked with these sad, frustrated eyes and said, "Doc, we don't have any money. We'll get that fixed. We're broke." So I got all this stuff stored back in my coconut now, right? What I've seen from Jennifer's 4 years. And came out in the newspaper a couple of weeks later, or a week before, or something, I don't remember the time of this, that the school board's cutting $6,000 out of every school's budget for athletics. So I thought about this, and I was able to do this. I went over and met with Coach Hayes, and I said, Coach, I said, how much will it take you to get this program on a good footing? And so he gave me the number what it would take. It's a little more than this, well, whatever. And so I said, I want to give you this check here. And I said, but with the understanding that you're not going to use it for football, my kids' sports, but I want to use it for volleyball, for wrestling, for track and field. I was a pole vaulter. That's really my first love in life, even though I played the other sports. It's a non-revenue producing sport, and all the other sports. That's my story. But the real reason that I think Mount Tabor succeeded was because of the administration, number one. Martha Land sitting back there, who is the epitome of what the Spartan ethos is. And if anybody knows Greek history, they know the Spartans were strong and sound mind and sound body. So we had an athletically oriented principle. That was number one. We had good coaches here. John Giles, his record in swimming goes without saying. He's in the Hall of Fame. We had good basketball coaches. Mike Esposito had great track teams. Coach Hayes had great wrestling teams. Michelle had great volleyball teams. And it goes on and on. We had great coaches. That wasn't a problem. What we needed was attitude. So what we did, we went out and hired a guy who everybody around here obviously thought was pretty damn good because he gave me field. Anyway, they hired Bob Sapp. And he came Tom's sophomore year. And Tom wasn't driving yet. I think he was only 15 or 16. 15, I guess. And I had to get him to practice. We had this new coach. I don't know this guy. And I said, Tom, I said, you got to practice? Yeah, I got to be there at 5. I said, okay. What time do you leave? He said, I need to leave about 4 o'clock. I said, yeah, I didn't sure what Forrest did. It'll take a few minutes to get. He said, Dad, you don't understand this coach. His motto is, if you can't be on time, be early. What he did, I'm a former artillery officer, and I was in leadership positions before I went into medicine. And I know a little bit about leadership and motivating people. Bob Sapp came here, and just his presence, what he was able to do, I personally think is what transformed this place into a winning program. I think success breeds success. Failure breeds failure. Give me a quick story about Bob. He's already in the Hall of Fame, I'll tell him anyway. Before this was a sophomore year. Tom's sophomore year, Bob's first year. I think it was in 94, 93, 92, okay, 92. Bob came, we were getting ready to play Davie County. And if I remember correctly, Mount Tabor had never beaten Davie County. I believe I was told that. And there was an article written in the Davie County newspaper. They have a local paper there. And it said in there, Bobby Joe is not playing this week. Billy Ray has got a sore foot. And all kind of excuses. But why are we smiling? Because we're playing Mount Tabor, who is the worst 4A football team in the state. Remember that, Bob? Yeah. So he took that article and made copies of it, and he hung it on every player's locker and highlighted it with a yellow line. I went and saw, I was doing a physical this summer. I did that too. I did physical. I'm kind of college. I still knew how to do physical as a man. Kind of college became a hobby. And he said, look at guys. He said, this is what they think. Lamar Marshall was a running back at that point. Tommy was a center. The Ellison twins were on either side of Tommy. And they were really just beginning. They were a bunch of puppy dogs then. They went out that day, they all did that, and they went out that day and they pounded the hell out of Davie County. And if I can remember correctly, Bob Sapp never lost to Davie County again while he was here. That's a fact. So Bob Sapp is good. Now, I want to say something else too about Bob Sapp. In 94, 95, I was going through some pretty tough times in my life. My life was in a little bit of turmoil. And it may have been a little bit sooner, in 93 maybe. And Bob and I kind of became moist and potty. We kind of became friends. And I don't know how it even happened because he said he didn't try to ever get on with the parents of the players. But we just had this something that was simpatico about us. And I was able to talk to Bob about my issues that were happening. He gave me very, very sagacious advice and made me listen to what happened and helped me get through some really, really tough times in my life. And for that, Robert, I thank you very much. 1 minute to go. Thank you. That's okay. He's telling me no. Talk. You're the boss. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and finish this off by saying once again that I'm humbled and very blessed to be here. But I want to accept this on behalf of all the volunteers out there who are in this position, who have contributed to success at Mount Tabor, no matter how small it be. I was going to wear my Mount Tabor shirt on this and show you the pride that I have in so many hours. Anyway, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I am Alan Proctor. I was proud and honored to be chosen this last year to be part of this night's Hall of Fame committee, and so thank you all for being here. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce one of the coolest people I've ever met, with the exception, of course, of probably Ed Weiss and my good friend John Giles, and that is John Carcieri. John is joined tonight by his mother, Midge, who's with us, and by his uncle Jeff and from California, and also from his Uncle Paul from Denver, Colorado. So thrilled to have you all with us. I'm not going to read the bio exactly, it's in your program. If you'll indulge me for a minute, I'm going to tell a story I think that's relevant here. It's very quick. It's a story about me and my family. One day when I was picking up my oldest son from Sunday school, he was kind of a handful, right? He was difficult, he was younger. And the Sunday school teacher, I picked him up and I said, hey, sorry, I know he's probably been difficult today. The Sunday school took a look back at me and said, you know, Alan, some of us aren't meant to be bankers. Some of us are born to be rock stars. And I love that story, right? Because we all are different and we all have our own talents. And it is our teachers, whether it's Sunday school teachers or high school teachers, often recognize that talent and encourage it, even when it may be slightly out of line. So it's easy to become a banker, right? But it's hard to do what John did. He chose a profession that is difficult, and you have to persevere through it. And if you ask how he did it, you talk to him about it, he talks about some of his mentors that he had along the way. That includes two teachers at Mount Tabor, which are his English teachers, Keith Donnelly, and his English teacher, Felicia McMillan. In particular, he mentioned McMillan sort of admired his comic writing style and encouraged him. John said that support was really part of his motivation to move forward. After graduating from Mount Tabor in 1995, he attended the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, where he developed very close friendships that he still has today. He credits a lot of learning he had at UNCSA, at the film school, and those friendships in particular is part of the reason for his success. He's gone on to some incredible things which are all in your bio, which are all in the bio that he's written. These include writing for the HBO series Eastbound and Down, also the HBO series Vice Principals. Most recently, he was named as one of the top 10 writers to watch in 2017 by Variety magazine. That's a pretty strong accomplishment, John. John is also recently the showrunner of a new TBS series starring Tracy Morgan, The Last OG, which he co-created with Jordan Peele. So that's right, he knows Tracy Morgan, he knows Jordan Peele, that's the Peele from Key and Peele, You don't know what that is? Ask your kids. They're like some of my kids' heroes. They love them. And so I'm going to go back quickly to the story I mentioned at the front. So I will tell you, like my son, John wasn't always the perfect kid. His talents came out in interesting ways. And he told me this. So I called his mom to say, hey, I was trying to find out more about him. Hey, bitch, tell me a little bit more about John. She said, well, you might not want him because he got a little trouble in the film school or at Tabor. I love this story, right? Because like my son, he used his talents in ways of force. So I've asked John to tell that story. So my apologies if he tells a story where he got a little bit of trouble in school. I think it's a cool story. And so with that, I'd like to invite John up to accept the award and say thank you so much.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. First off, let me say thank you to Principal Ed Weiss, and also a very big thank you to Aaron Plum and Alan Proctor and everyone else on the Hall of Fame committee that volunteered and made tonight possible. Thank you so much. So nice. I'd also like to thank the mom, Midge Carcieri. She's here with us tonight. My dad, Mike, who passed away 2 years ago, he's here with us in spirit. I'm very proud to accept this honor and to stand here with my fellow inductees. If you would have told me when I was a student here that I'd make it into the Hall of Fame, I never would have believed you. I mean, actually, I'm sure you vetted me properly. I don't know. But to be totally honest, I was neither the best student, nor was I the best athlete. And I was the most popular, really. I was kind of a jerk, actually, if you want to, as you might have gleaned from Mr. Proctor's introduction there. That incident that Alan spoke of was an assignment for radio and TV broadcasting, which I took at the Career Center with Millard James, who was the instructor there. And the assignment was simple. It said, make a commercial for the Career Center. And whoever made the best commercial, they would air it on the school channel. So, that was kind of a big deal for us because me and my friend Kenny Wilson were so excited about making something that might actually air on TV. We just worked our tails off to produce the most polished commercial that we could. We took great care of shooting, editing, and even recording our own music for said commercial. Well, we did end up making the best commercial, and our commercial got selected, which was awesome, but there was a problem. The backup music that we used for the commercial that we wrote and recorded ourselves basically slandered all of our teachers and administrators in ways that I'm too embarrassed to repeat here. We called people names, we cussed them out, it was disgraceful, it was terrible. And it was also mostly unintelligible, thankfully, because the punk rock song was so badly performed. It was by us, we aren't musicians. And why did we do it? It was for no good reason at all. We thought we were being clever, we thought we were getting away with something. Our little joke was discovered, of course, not right away, but I think they watched it a few times. Somebody thought they heard a naughty word, then they played it slow, and then every single painful word was understood. And we got in a lot of trouble. For our punishment, we got kicked out of the radio and TV broadcasting class, which was like the worst thing in the world because we loved the class and we really loved what we were learning. And we were really, avid students in the class, but we just were, again, we were just immature and just being punks, and we shot ourselves in the foot. We also got suspended for 3 days, which is the only real black mark on my high school record. And I remember afterwards, my teacher, Mr. James, he said to me, he's like, "You guys made a hell of a commercial." He's like, "Why did you have to ruin it with that knuckleheaded song? What was going on in your mind?" He said, and my takeaway was, okay, you're good at filming, pursue it, but stay away from a career in music. So I took that to heart, and like most teenagers, I guess I was just a work in progress. I mostly was just looking ahead of what was to come. I couldn't wait to get out of the house. I couldn't wait to go out into the world and start my career and all that stuff. And I wasn't always thinking about what was important in high school, what was valuable about high school when I there. And that didn't come until much, much later. I kind of had hindsight to look at like how much I appreciated everything I learned here and all the people and the mentors and the guidance that I received here. You know, of course, when I moved out of my mom and dad's house, you know, those lessons came hard and fast. You start to realize you're like, oh man, you know, I had it pretty good. And not everybody has loving parents or devoted teachers. Not everybody was told they were talented and encouraged to pursue their dreams, even when those talents were weaponized and used against the very people who are telling you you're talented. You know, it's pretty remarkable. You know, so in spite of my own kind of like checkered, you know, past in high school, I had this advantage that so many people don't have, which is a supportive community and a supportive family. And I'm eternally grateful for that. It's something very special. So thank you so much for this honor, and thank you for this opportunity. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next inductee is represented by his widow, Lucy Cook. It's my sincere privilege to introduce Lanny Cook. On a personal note, over the past several weeks, really the past couple of months, meeting Lucy and her family has been such a special experience because you can just feel the love of all of the people who Lanny touched throughout his career. And it really has been just such a pleasure, especially in a time right now where there are so many unhappy things going on. It's really been a wonderful treat, so thank you. So, a little bit about Lanny. Lanny has dedicated 34 years to teaching and coaching football, baseball, softball, basketball, and volleyball for Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. After graduating from Wake Forest, he taught PE and health and coached baseball and football at Jefferson Junior High. When Jefferson became an elementary school, he moved to Mount Tabor and continued coaching, and later went on to lead the varsity softball and girls JV basketball. He was successful as a coach, winning several conference championships and 100 basketball games. Winning, however, was less important to Lanny than teaching students to be unselfish team players, developing students' leadership skills, and motivating individuals to give their best at all times. When he selected his team MVPs, he always chose someone who exhibited selflessness, honesty, hard work, integrity, and leadership. Lanny and his wife Lucy were married for 41 years. They raised 2 girls, Amanda and Ashley, who are here tonight, and were grandparents to Brady, Piper, Caleb, and Salem, who all know him as Poppy. Some of his former students had these words of praise for him, and I have to say it was really hard to pick just a few because the outpouring of comments was really incredible. Your lessons, love, friendship, and guidance continue to make this world a better place through all that you've unselfishly given others. It felt good to have someone listen to me and care about what I had to say. Coach Cook, my hero, my rock, and on many occasions, my motivator. You believed in us when we didn't believe in ourselves. And in tribute to Lanny, Lucy wrote, his selflessness and dedication to improving the lives of his students was his testimony. And his life was living proof that the seeds you plant today are reaped tenfold tomorrow. So with that, I'd like to welcome Lucy Cook. Actually, I think, Lucy, you're going to have a little help from your family, right? Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cook Rhodes, and I am blessed to call Coach Lanny Cook my dad and honored to speak on his behalf. My dad was born to coach. Whether it was in the classroom or on the ball field or at home, we all learned so much from him. We learned you can be a role model through who you are and what you stand for, not always through just what you say. We learned that serving others through the gift of time is a long-term investment that makes an impact for generations. We learned the value of hard work through the many summers that Dad painted houses in the hot sun to provide for our family. We learned what character traits are important when selecting a husband and father. We learned that hard work pays off and quitting isn't an option. We learned that you can pick your friends or you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. I learned to set the bar for myself, not meet the bar others set. I was doing good until the introduction. I didn't think we were going to read it again. We learned quiet strength while at the same time balancing the art of speaking our minds. We learned how to stand up for what was right through listening to Dad defend his ball field and his players when they were wrong. We learned the importance of neat landscaping, whether his ball field or at our home. We learned what devotion really means through his love for my mom and the countless hours he spent coaching. We learned that PE is what you do when you go to the bathroom. Jim is somebody you date, and he constantly corrected us and said he taught physical education. We learned what it means to be passionate through watching him come home and calculate his players' statistics after the games. We learned to be a competitor and that we can accomplish anything we want to. Most recently, after taking a family cross-country trip this summer, I learned you cannot wait until you retire to live your adventures. Dad's most favorite memories was when he was living what he considered to be his best years before retirement, when he was making an impact in the world and serving others. I'm blessed to call Coach Cook my dad and my life coach. What's amazing to me is although he was my father, many of his players and students learned many of the same things. I see now amazing children that it takes a village. And I understand the role that coaches within our community play in shaping our children. Now I'd like to introduce you to one of his former players, Becky Meyer-Painter.
Good evening, Spartan family. Many of y'all knew me as Becky Meyer. It's great to see so many familiar faces out there. I love Mount Tabor High School. I loved it as a teenage student athlete. I loved it when I was on staff here for many years. 20 years after graduating, I was 97, still bleed blue and gold, and so it's a pleasure to be here. And in these past 20 years, I've thought a lot about why I loved high school so much and kind of honed in on two reasons. One of them is I really value this time of life. I love that these young people are edging out of childhood, figuring out who they are, and how they're gonna make their way in the world around them. And two, and I think more so, I have so much appreciation for the people that pour their lives into teenagers along the way. And there were many who did that for me, and the one that I get to talk about tonight is Coach Lanny Cook. He was that not just for me, but for so many others. And it's really an honor to speak on behalf of all of these young women. My sister's here, Megan's over here, one of those players. I know there's so many more that we're the voice for tonight. And it's sweet for me that like him, I'm a teacher and a coach. And I've coached a lot of basketball over the years. I played for him only 1 year. And to this day, every year I have coached. There are times where I've thought, what would Coach Cook do in this particular situation? Because he's simply the best that I've known. I was talking with some of my students recently about obedience and love, trying to help them understand that while fear can be a motivating factor to make people obey, one rarely has a genuine desire to follow the rules unless she has an understanding that the one who is making the rules actually loves her. And it only took me a few moments to think of the perfect example, and I want to share with you what I told my students. My favorite coach ever was Coach Cook. It was truly magic the way that he took a ragtag group of inexperienced and insecure girls and made us all into basketball players or softball players who grew in confidence and skills and genuinely loved being on a team together. He recognized strengths of which we were completely unaware. I had no idea I'd play softball, but Coach Cook convinced me I would. He pushed us hard and demanded much, but we were never afraid of him. We genuinely wanted to give him our best. And the reason is because we knew undoubtedly that he loved us and he cared for us. Coach Cook was interested in our lives. Boy, was he interested. He asked so many questions about boys over the years that it was so exciting after many years I finally got to tell him I was engaged. And I was pretty sad he didn't live long enough to see me walk down the aisle. And while he was often quite serious, I remember his straight face during games. It's hard to think of him otherwise than without his warm smile and his crinkly eyes. Some of my favorite high school memories were after games on the activity bus, with Coach Cook driving and simultaneously entertaining us by singing oldies tunes. I can still hear him singing, "I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. What can make me feel this way? My girl." Any of us who played for him knew that we were his girls. And the way he loved us and challenged us helped us flourish. I'm ever grateful for the gift of Coach Cook in my life.
In 1972, Lanny graduated from Wake Forest and applied for a teaching and coaching position at Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. And as the school system does, they made him sweat it out all summer. And right before school started, I got a call from Mike Lee that he had a teaching position and coaching position at Jefferson Junior High School. And he was ecstatic. He was so happy. And I well remember his first day of school. He was so nervous that morning and going off to school, and I went to work, and as soon as I got to work, I got this call of, I've locked my keys in my truck, and my truck's running in the parking lot. Help. So I went to help him. Of course, I paid him back for that many times over the years to come unlock my car. He loved his 17 years at Jefferson, and he led his Patriots to many victories. But more importantly, he touched many lives along the way. Then the school board made this decision to change Jefferson to an elementary school. Lanny was devastated. But God, as he so cleverly and indiscreetly does so often, when he closes the door, he opens a window, and that window was into Mount Tabor High School, where he later loved his Spartans. He got the taught baseball with that offer, and football, and many other sports over the years. But the good thing, many of his Jefferson students came with him to Mount Tabor, so he got to coach them again, teach them again. Well, when his Jefferson students graduated from Mount Tabor, it was like the wind was out of his sail, and he came to me and he said, you know, I think I'm going to change to girls' sports. So he did. He headed up the girls' softball program, and he taught JV basketball. Lanny started coaching girls' sports in the years following the time that the school board decided to take out sports from middle school. So very often he was teaching girls what a basketball was and how to play softball. Many of the girls had never played before. So Lanny always seemed to be able to motivate, inspire, and bring out the best in the kids he taught and coached. He had many winning seasons, but most of all, he taught his kids the necessary skills and gave them the support, motivation, and confidence they needed to succeed. And he made it fun along the way. Lanny's father died when he was 9 years old, and it was a lifetime loss to him. And I later learned that it is, when you have a death in the family that close, you never get over it. You just learn to live through the grief. But I'd say to Lanny many times, why don't you go to the Big Brother, Big Sister program and get you a little brother and you know, that doesn't have a dad. And I'd say that to him, and that never seemed like the thing that he wanted to do. It was not until I saw how many kids interacted with him when they finally talked him into getting on Facebook, and how many kids wrote to him when Ashley set up a Caring Bridge account, and how many kids came to his funeral, how many talked at his funeral, until it really hit me, and I thought, you know, he was a big brother to so many and a father figure to so many. Congratulations to all the other Hall of Fame inductees and their family. Thank you, Ed Wise, Aaron Clune, and the committee members for selecting Lanny to receive this honor. He would be very appreciative and very humbled by this recognition. My family and I appreciate Vaughn Moore initiating this process last year, and we appreciate Vaughn and John Giles for writing recommendation letters. John was a friend from Jefferson all the way through Mount Tabor and beyond, and we appreciate that. And I want to thank our family for being here tonight, and our friends, some of our old friends for coming, and thank you all very much.
I would sing that song, I Got Sunshine, but I'm really not into it. And I'm not sure that Coach Cook would call me one of his girls. But back in 95, 96, 97, that window, I was an assistant baseball coach here in the beginning of my career, and Coach Cook was the softball coach here. And as I became the head coach here at baseball, you have those conversations with the coaches, especially those who are much more experienced, as Coach Cook was at the time. So he was I might have been one of his guys as opposed to one of his girls, but I can certainly, I owe a lot to him for some of those late night, dusty conversations after dragging the fields and sharing drags and all those kind of things that Doc Brown might talk about as far as sharing equipment and all the things that you do as an athletic department. But thank you for your own words. It is my pleasure at this time to recognize Betsy Fields. Betsy Fields is a strong piece of the foundation of Tabor City. She has been a dedicated supporter of Mount Tabor for well over 10 years, 4 years beyond her youngest child, Kendall's graduation in 2009, and then Carter in 12. And I am very, very lucky for that. Betsy's tenure of service began at Mount Tabor as a PTSA volunteer coordinator. She did that in 2006 to 2008, where it led to her becoming the vice president of our academics board. She did that for 08-09, and eventually became the PTSA executive president 10, 11, and 12. And that coincided with the beginning years for myself as principal. While executive president, Betsy worked closely with myself to establish this Mount Tabor High School Hall of Fame, serving as our inaugural chairperson for 3 years. She continued serving the Hall of Fame committee in advisory capacity after she completed her chairperson part. She helped our PTSA in so many ways. The Pine Needle Sale, which is one of our largest fundraisers. She volunteered her time as well as the family pickup truck. Her leadership was just contagious, inspirational, can-do spirit, always supportive, and that led me to asking her to help me spearhead and organize the committee for our 50th year anniversary, which we celebrated last year. It culminated in a successful homecoming weekend, and you will see that replicated again tomorrow with our food truck festival and our homecoming tailgate beginning at 5. All of this work and effort was recognized by our school with an Outstanding Volunteer Award in both 2013 and 2017 last year. This past spring, our school board gave her a Volunteer Recognition Award, and our PTSA Council recognized her as the Judy Mountjoy Volunteer of the Year. She began school volunteering at Jefferson Elementary School, where she served on PTA boards and supported the Odyssey of the Mind program. She continued to be involved with both groups at Haynes Middle School. After her PTSA duties here at Mount Tabor, she worked as treasurer for our Council of PTAs at the district level and has been a mentor and a volunteer reader within the corporate volunteer programs. I can't say enough about Betsy Fields, her commitment to this school, both when her kids were here and certainly most recently and now as a supportive person and always with that can-do spirit. It is my honor and privilege to recognize Elizabeth Betsy Fields for induction into the Spartan Hall of Fame.
Can you hear me? I threatened to pick that up and move it so that you can. First of all, I would like to confirm, yeah, it really is a different feeling to be introduced as opposed to introducing others, and I'm way more comfortable with the latter. That being said, I'm going to take some liberties here. As Ed said, I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work on the creation of the Spartan Hall of Fame and will always have an ownership stake in it in perpetuity. So I'm going to do what I like to do best, and that is turn that spotlight right off of me and put it on to the other inductees. So here goes. Tom Brand. I had a picture of Alan and me in 1990 when I was first pregnant with Kendall. That was the year we met. We talked a lot of football, a whole lot of football during those visits. More about footballs than we did about babies. I can remember seeing photographs of your kids on your credentials. Tommy was in his uniform in '94 when I was in there with Carter, and you would talk about being on the sidelines, and I could just see the joy in your face and how happy that made you. I had no idea that you were doing all this other stuff behind the scenes, so I really appreciate you letting us out you tonight for your generosity, and would like to thank you for all that you've done and letting us honor you tonight. John. I'm not saying your last name because I'm not going to say it right. We're just going to go with John, okay? I've seen some of the productions that you work on, and I hope you forgive me, but I consider it kind of guy humor as opposed to girl humor. Is that fair? But that's really a good thing for me. When my kids were in kindergarten for Mother's Day, we had to go to Jefferson Elementary School, and we'd sit down together, and they would read us this book called 5 Minutes Peace. And it was about this mom hippopotamus or elephant or something like that, trying her best to take a bath with all these little kids running around. And all of our children would promise us that they'd give us 5 minutes peace on Sunday. Your show's a grown-up version of 5 minutes peace for me. I live in a household of men, and if you can keep that lot busy for 5 minutes, I'm happy. And if you can get HBO to string about 3 of those together, I can go to bed early on one night a week. So see what you can do about that, okay? Lanny Cook. I just love it when I get to post something on the Mount Tabor alumni
Facebook page that I run. When I get to post something about a teacher like Lanny, it's really special because, like you said, all the students and all the players all of a sudden see this picture and they start making comments and then they start tagging their friends. That's when you know that somebody has made a difference in people's lives. It was a lot of fun to see that happen when I posted Lanny's picture. And as you can see from my son back there, I have a school teacher of my own in the family now. He's a coach, a fourth-year teacher at Parkland High School, and it's teachers like Lanny that Kendall can look up to and know that you can keep that spirit going. He's the fourth year, he's really excited now. It's when you're in your 17th and 18th year and you're still excited, that's a special thing. So we thank Lanny for everything that he gave to Mount Tabor and for being an inspiration to our kids going forward. Chris Gaynor. I know Chris isn't here, so I'm going to tell you my story. There's a picture in the carousel up here of my family at the 2006 NCAA tournament in Greensboro, North Carolina. Wearing our bright orange. We're so excited that the Vols are coming to town and we get to see them play. Now I know that's not Chris's favorite game. Dang, he had 10 points and 4 assists, so he had a good game, right? It's not why I'm not telling the story so that I can brag about my Vols, because but when we were sitting about 10 rows behind the basket, all in our line in our orange and white, and we're screaming our heads off for our balls, and this one kid from the other school. Kendall was a freshman in 2006, and every time number 10 for Winthrop got the ball, we'd yell, "Go Tabor!" Finally, somebody looked at us and said, "You know, his name's Gaynor, not Tabor." I was so glad to be able to see Chris play at the next level, and even more excited to see that he had gone on into teaching and coaching after school. It's so important for kids to be able to see that you can be a success in many things, not just on the basketball court. So let him know that his volunteer family from Mount Tabor High School, go Gaynor, go Tabor. That's Stanley. Where's that? There you are. Thank you for meeting me earlier tonight. When we were brainstorming about the Hall of Fame, we had this bright idea that we were going to have somebody from each one of our A's, arts, academics, athletics, and the all-around awesome person. And it got to be a little problematic when we started trying to verbalize and visualize someone who would fit the academics category. We talked about this a lot, didn't we? We just had a hard time with it. Fortunately, we found that our legacy classes have proven that this category was part of Mount Tabor High School since the doors opened. You really did set the bar high for us. I mean, the first of everything. First MIT student. Not our last MIT student, but our first MIT student. For those of us who are mired in intellectual and academic mediocrity, I want to say, dang, man, you really did set that bar for us. And you still had time to play 3 different sports? I'm exhausted thinking about it. We would like to recognize that kind of overachieving theme was part of your legacy class. Dan McNabb, Steve Wallenhout, you all laid it out for us. Thank you for being a lasting inspiration to all of our academic all-stars at Mount Tabor and all the rest of us who are just trying to get by. On a personal note, I'd like to thank Nancy Rowell, and I did that in text today. Way back in the day, she asked me to be part of the PTA board at Jefferson Elementary and at Mount Tabor High School. Those are positions that I never, ever would have volunteered for out of lack of confidence. My time volunteering has brought way more to me in my personal development than it ever did to any school program that I volunteered for. I'd like to thank you, Ed, for trusting me with a couple of your passions, the Mount Tabor Spartan Hall of Fame and the 50th anniversary. If you'd not shown confidence in me to your staff and to the other parents, I would have never gotten the cooperation that I needed to pull these off. And as a bonus, I got to meet and have gotten to know lots of wonderful people who worked really, really hard, especially on the 50th anniversary. Ken Hauser, Sherry Blackman and Legacy Group. From fundraising that they did, that great party, I got invited to that great party. And from bringing all the Legacy people back to the parade. That was really, really pretty awesome. Kristen Wooden for the Spartan Golf Classic, Teresa Papua for the Food Truck Festival, and the Tabor Triple Threat of Sharon Dunnigan, John Giles, and Sandra McNeely for all your support. All the other faculty members who marshaled and sponsors who marshaled their students together to get them ready for that parade last year was amazing. You guys did all the work, and I'm getting to take the trophy home. I don't think that's right, but I'd like to thank all of you for everything you did. I'd like to thank Senator McMullen. You agreed to help me that first year because you felt sorry for me, let's face it. And you stayed with the Spartan Hall of Fame, and you made it this wonderful and lasting event. Education in my house was never passive. My grandfather was a teacher and a principal. I have 2 uncles who were principals. My mother has, briefly, taught high school, middle school, and elementary school. My father was elected to the school board for 10 years and served for 4 years as chairman. Education was not just sitting in a classroom. I knew from an early age that it took a lot more to be a teacher and to run the business of education than met the eye. And although I was never cut out to be in a classroom, I feel very blessed that I've had these opportunities to contribute in other ways. Thank you, Mom and Dad and Mary, for your examples in volunteerism. You are my heroes. Thank you, Kendall and Carter, for not freaking out because I was walking up and down the halls of Tabor when you were students here. Thank you, Alan, for your understanding in my need to do these things that I did and in sharing my time with others. Thank you all for the honor of letting me join this super cool club, the Mount Tabor Spartan Hall of Fame.
Hello. What a great group of inductees we have this year. It's an honor for me to be able to take part on this evening with such a special group. It's my honor to introduce Chris Gaynor. And if you ever saw Chris play basketball here at Tabor, you know he was a special player. A real team leader and someone that Mount Tabor can be proud of. Chris graduated from Mount Tabor in 2004. While he was a student here, he not only played basketball, he played football and managed the soccer team. He excelled in basketball, making All-State and All-Conference teams, and was selected as the MVP for the Bull City Classic and North Carolina play-by-play. Twice he was on the Frank Spencer All-Tournament team and made the All-Northwest area Winston-Salem Journal team. He also played in the East-West All-Star game. He led Mount Tabor men's basketball to the Elite Eight in the state playoffs. Starting at point guard, and we all know what an important position that was, he holds the title of all-time leading scorer for basketball in Mount Tabor. He later went on to Winthrop as a student athlete, where he continued to play basketball, leading the team to 4 Big South Conference championships. He was selected All-Freshman and All-Big South. He was also named by College Insider as the top mid-major MVP in 2007. That same year, 2007, he was named the MVP of the Metro Orange Bowl Classic, and he led Winthrop to a victory over Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament, which was the first victory for a member of the Big South Conference in the NCAA tournament. Chris was fortunate enough to start every game to 129 games that he played. He only missed 3 games due to injury in 4 years. His statistics included 1,000 points, 400 rebounds, 567 assists, and 258 steals. He was the Big South Winthrop University all-time Division I assist leader and finished second in steals. In 2017, earlier this year, Winthrop University inducted him into their Hall of Fame. Chris currently lives in Charleston, South Carolina with his wife and 2 children and works for the state of South Carolina as a Social Security disability examiner. As you know, Chris is not able to be here this evening, but he will be here tomorrow night with his family. His 2-month-old, this will be his first road trip, so they're excited about that. But in his absence this evening, his mother Leslie is here and present, and so please help me welcome her to the podium, and she'll say a few words to Chris. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It is with great honor that I stand here and give thanks on behalf of my son, Christopher. My husband, Albert, is not able to be here, but he also sends his love, and he is, as I am, so extremely proud of Chris. We also have another son that attended Mount Tabor, and that was Albert. He ran track for Coach Esposito. So we are 2 proud parents of students who attended Tabor. Chris holds a dearness to all of us because he is such an outgoing young man, and he never met a stranger. I am not, and neither is my husband, from North Carolina originally, so we didn't have a lot of family here. Chris was the type of person, I didn't care whoever we met, he just loved them, and everybody in the city almost became our cousins. It didn't matter who they were. He was just so excited to have family. And I do want to tell a little story about his 4 years here playing basketball for Coach Muse. And I don't know if Coach Muse knows this, but yeah, he knows this. I'm a very protective mother. And I'm sure mothers of sons and daughters, but definitely mothers of sons, we have this thing where we want to take our little cubs and keep our arms around them and make sure that no one messes with them. And when Chris came home and as his first freshman year, and he says, "Mom, I'm going to be playing basketball." You played A, you play basketball, okay, you're playing basketball. He says, "No, I'm going to be playing varsity." And I'm like, "Oh, no, you're not. You're not going to play basketball for the varsity team and sit on that bench for 4 years. Why don't you go ahead and play junior high, play JV, and then work your way up?" And he says, "No, Mom, honest, I'm going to play varsity." So my very first game, I came over here to Mount Tabor to see Chris play, and I'm like, "Yeah, watch." To my chagrin, my son started playing varsity, and he started his first game with Mount Tabor under Coach Muse, and he played varsity the entire time he was here. So, I really thank Coach Muse in seeing something in my son and giving him that opportunity to shine. So I understand that Chris has sent a tape here that we're going to go ahead and play, and I will let him give you his regards. But I do want to thank the Spartan Hall of Fame Committee for inducting him. We are extremely proud, and we're so thankful to all of you.
Good evening, Spartan family. My name is Chris Gaynor, and I was fortunate enough to be the point guard at Mount Tabor from 2000 to 2004 under the coaching of Andy Muse, Tom Muse, and Daniel Piggott. Just like to start off by saying thanks, Mom, for being able to be there to receive this great accomplishment and award for me tonight. And also thanks for allowing me to get this 2XL shirt when I was in high school, because now it finally fits. And I'm sorry to everybody for not being able to be there today. If my mom hasn't told everybody by now, or Coach Muse hasn't told everybody, we just had our second child, my wife and I, and unfortunately it was done by emergency C-section, and I was I had to take off a lot more time than I really wanted to, and unfortunately the state of South Carolina is not that forgiving when it comes to making up time that you missed. And so I'm 95 to 99.9% sure I'll see everybody tomorrow at the football game. Coach Muse, thank you. Dude, you're like family to me, and it's really a testament to the Spartan family. It's not just 4 years, it's a lifelong thing. I know you fought for many years to get me into the Hall of Fame, so I know this award means a lot to you just as much as it means to me, and again, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there today. To thank you to all my teammates those 4 years. Basketball is a team sport, so without you guys, my accomplishments would never be recognized, because without you guys, we wouldn't be the winners we were. So to the teachers and faculty and staff, thank you for having to deal with me and my brother 4 years before me. And thank you to the committee for voting me in, and congratulations to all the other inductees. This is a great accomplishment, and I'm so glad that you're able to be there to celebrate it with your families. We had some good times, Coach Muse. We had some good battles against North and Reynolds and West, against great players that are in the NBA now. We were able to beat. That says a lot. I'm sure people, when they look back on playing against Michael Jordan in high school, beat him, you always say, hey, beat Michael Jordan, but hey, I beat Chris Paul. So, it was just great times. I could sit here and talk forever, but I know Mr. Weiss wants me to keep it to a minimum. But my journey to Mount Tabor actually started when I was in the 8th grade. I played at Paisley Middle School with Coach Key, 7th and 8th grade year, undefeated twice, just to let y'all know. And I'll never forget me and Elliot and Alex Bracey. We saw Coach Muse in the stands for a couple games, so we knew we had to show out. And so we played very well, and here it was my 9th grade year in tryouts. Here I am thinking I was going to play on JV, and Coach Muse snags me over there with the varsity, and I'm thinking that he just wants to see what I can do against the older guys. Never did I know that I would be starting on the varsity team my freshman year all the way through. But without that, I wouldn't be able to go to Winthrop and accomplish the things that I did there. So, again, Coach Muse, man, it's not enough thank yous that I can say. Mom, Dad, thank you guys for pushing me both on the court and with my studies. And to my brother, thank you for setting a great example and setting the bar high for me when I got to Tabor. And again, thank you to the committee and to the inductees. Congratulations. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Good evening. I'm Jane Potter, and I get the honor to introducing Thad Stanley. As last but not least, as we've already mentioned, he was actually first, so I'm very excited to talk about him. I need my glasses though, this will help. As mentioned, he was one of the first students ever to attend Mount Tabor, and several of his classmates are here with him. They started as sophomores, graduated after 3 years. Got a list of accomplishments here. He was valedictorian of the Mount Tabor class of '69. He was a National Merit Scholar and the first Mount Tabor student to attend Governor's School for math. He scored a perfect 800 on the math SAT. I was good at math, but I was nowhere near that good at math. Not surprising with all that to be said, his senior year he was designated as most intellectual for a senior superlative. As you noted here, his friends said we were here to celebrate, insist that we need to call him by his nickname, which was Spock. Apparently not Mr. Spock, we need to just call him Spock, so make sure you do that. But he excelled, in addition to academics, he excelled in sports and extracurricular activities. He was the first editor of the yearbook. He served as the consul of the Latin Club and was a member of several different clubs, including National Honor Society, in which he was vice president. He was also vice president of the junior class. As far as sports, he played tennis his junior and senior years and ran both cross country and track. He does say, however, that playing varsity basketball required more work and led to more disappointments and more satisfaction than any of his other activities, academic or extracurricular. Clearly, he was working very hard academically. After Tabor, he went on to MIT and earned his Bachelor of Science and Master's of Science in Chemical Engineering. Although he apparently completed his coursework in the Sloan School of Business there, he did not allow the publication of his thesis and therefore didn't graduate that program. I wonder if there's a story there. He is the founder and managing member of Talleyrand Capital Management LLC, a privately held hedge fund. As I mentioned, he's got several high school friends who are here to celebrate with him, as well as his wife, Barbara Stanley. They live in Missouri. They've been married since 1993, have 4 sons and 3 grandchildren. So I'm very honored to get to bring Thad Stanley to the front floor.
Well, let's see if I can get this to work. My good friend Paul McNeil back there said, "Eat the mic." So, that's loud enough. Thank you, Jane, for that kind introduction. I'm certainly honored to be here and looking forward to seeing another Mount Tabor football game, visiting a lot of my old friends. And looking around, I feel like I stepped out of a time capsule. It's over 50 years since I first set foot in this cafeteria. And to help you understand how I feel about Mount Tabor, I have to take you back to 1966. So I was a skinny, shy 15-year-old. I just moved here from Fairborn, Ohio. Obviously, I didn't know anyone. School was starting up, but just starting high school. In Ohio and in North Carolina at that time, junior high was 7, 8, and 9. So you're starting high school as a sophomore. So I just found out, first day of school, first day the doors were open, brand new school. It was so new, it was still under construction. And we had a lot of our classes were actually in trailers set up outside. I thought there'd be a lot of younger people here, maybe more students, but if you remember 1966, there were no iPads, no computers, certainly none that a high school could afford. There were no electronic calculators even. I brought we did have pocket calculators. I brought one out of the time machine, or the time capsule. Here it is, a number 2 Ticonderoga. Some people preferred the 2.5 upgraded version, but I used the number 2. So no cell phones, no texting, and horror of horrors, no video games. So what did we do? Well, we did have TV still back then. There's enough gray hair out here that you remember this. My home, we had 3 channels. We did go to the movies, but there was no Netflix or streaming or anything, so you actually had to go to the movie. In '66, the Academy Award winner was A Man for All Seasons. But the biggest box office was The Bible. I don't know if you remember that movie. Listened to a lot of music. I always listened on the radio. My favorites were the Four Tops, the Temptations, all the British bands. I really liked Steppenwolf too. But the Billboard #1 single for that year was Ballad of the Green Berets. And the top rock and roll song was I'm a Believer by the Monkees, which I understand has just been remade a year or two ago. I liked all games of skill and chance. So I really like card games, I like board games, I like playing outside, I like to pick up basketball games, sandlot, baseball, touch football. We're playing outside a lot. I got my first job, not as a sophomore, but I got my first job. David Gentry, a good friend of mine, worked at Farmer's Dairy Bar, and he got me a job working with him as a soda jerk. We made 85 cents an hour, and that was okay. It was McDonald's hamburger or cheeseburger was 19 cents, fries were 15 cents, and a gallon of gas was 30 cents. So we actually did okay. So anyway, back to school. So we show up that first day that the doors are open, and there are no seniors. And there are only a few juniors. I think there were 50, 60 juniors at school. So it was mostly sophomores. And they filled up the school with junior high kids, but we were sort of separated. There was a lower level that all the junior high kids stayed in, and the upper level was the high school. So not only were there no seniors, there was no tradition of any kind. I mean, you can imagine, you can understand there are no trophies in the trophy case, but there are no trophy case, right? There's no school colors, there's no school mascot, there are no clubs, there's no activities. So I don't know if we recognized it at the time, but man, what a great opportunity this was. Our first task was to choose our nickname and our school colors. Only the high school kids get to vote on it. Junior high, they're shut out. So basically, the sophomores of that year, the class of '69, we chose the Spartans as our nickname, navy blue and gold as our colors. And I'm proud to see that that's still the nickname and still the color. If you wanted to play a sport, have at it. Seriously, even the big sports. You know, football and basketball, they're looking for guys. If you want to play, if you had the desire, I don't know, Coach Hayes, if there were any cuts, maybe a few, but basically if you wanted to play, you could play. For instance, first meeting of the football team, 13 players. And it's hard to have a football team with 13 players. Now they recruited more. If you wanted to start a club, you just grabbed a couple like-minded students, you lassoed in a faculty advisor, and voila, you had a club. So personally, I lettered in 4 sports, played not 3, 4, 3 years across country, 3 years of varsity basketball, really better said, 2 years of varsity basketball practice, unlike Chris, and 1 year of playing varsity basketball, a year track, 2 years of tennis. Yeah, I really shouldn't have made it sound too easy about how it was to make the varsity team back in that first year. But it was pretty easy. But I'm grateful to play. I would never played at North or never played at Reynolds, but I got to play the entire time I was here at Mount Tabor. Now, we lost a lot of games, especially that first year. You know, it's 15-year-olds playing against 17, 18-year-olds. A lot of games, a lot of matches, a lot of meets. And man, did we set a lot of records. A lot of school records. That first track meet, we set 20-some records. The second meet, we broke 20 records. It was really quite exciting time. But we had really great coaches. Now, all those years I was here and all the sports I played, I only had 2 coaches. Coach Hayes right here, he coached track and basketball, and Coach Pardue, who coached tennis and cross-country basketball. But we had great football coaches too. We did pretty well. I mean, after all, we got lots of varsity experience. By the time we were seniors, We won our first championship of the conference in cross country, actually, and our football team played in the state final. So, you know, it came to a lot of good there. However, we did still have a lot of teenage angst, and we still had to go to classes. Bill Watterson, Jr., English. He could strike fear and trepidation in the heart of any junior. He made us get up every month, give an oral book report in front of the whole class, and then suffer the slings and arrows of the criticisms from the teacher. Mary Martin, I had her for 3 years of Latin. She was rough and gruff, but outside of Latin class, she was pretty funny. She had a real dry sense of humor, and she really instilled in me a lot of love for Roman history and for all things Italian. Jim Adams, he was my biology professor, biology teacher. He was our yearbook advisor. I spent a lot of time with him outside the coaches. I spent more time with him than any other teacher because we worked on the yearbook on Saturdays, and he was there all the time. It was really great because he really encouraged us to make all the decisions. I have to mention Nathaniel Miller. He was, I think, a freshman math teacher, freshman a basketball coach, and he was the running backs coach on the varsity at the time. But I never had him as a coach. I never had him as a teacher. I never had a conversation with him until the spring of my senior year. And I encountered him actually in the gym, and he asked me what I was going to do for college. And I told him I was living the senior dream. I had applied for an Angie B. Duke scholarship, which is one of these free rides to Duke. And I didn't get the scholarship, but in the rejection letter, they said I was admitted to the school if I wanted to come. So I didn't apply to any colleges, didn't have to write any essays. I didn't pay any fees. I didn't have any angst about, you know, where am I going to go to school, get an acceptance letter. But to my great surprise, he said, I think you ought to get farther away from home. And I was a little stunned. I said, well, you know, I like reading sci-fi a lot, and in the sci-fi novels, the heroes always go to MIT. He said, yeah, you know, that'd be good. So here it is, late spring, on a whim, I applied to MIT. I was way after the application deadline, and they accepted me. So teachers, you never know, something you say or do can affect a young person. And you might even, like in my case, really change the course of my life by that one encounter, Coach Miller. So I went to Boston, majored in chemical engineering. I played 4 years of collegiate basketball. Now, it wasn't D1 basketball, it was D3 basketball, but we played a lot of D1 basketball teams, New England teams, Boston College. They're in the ACC now. They weren't in the ACC back then. I got out of school, I went to work for chemical industry. I met my lovely wife, Barbara. We had 4 sons, as Jane said. Then I changed careers completely. I went to Wall Street. It pays better than Main Street, let me tell you. So when your product is money, you make more money, because that's what you make. That's the factor. And I started my own investment company 18 years ago, and here I am, fat and happy, but it all started right here. My formative years were at Mount Tabor, and I know that parents and friends have a lot to do with it. I wanted to let you know what the main things I learned were here. 5 things. 1, if you live by one rule, make it the golden rule. 2, the Boy Scouts have it right, be prepared. Think ahead of time about, the problems you could encounter and what you would do and what you would say. Number 3, heroes can be flawed, but they can still be heroic. Number 4, you learn as much, perhaps you learn more from failure than you do from success. And 5, you really need to develop something that you're really passionate about. It really helps you a career. If you can make that a career or at least an important avocation, your life will be a lot more fulfilling. You get a lot more out of it. I know it's hard in high school to do that. It takes a while to really develop a passion. But for me, I had no idea what I was going to do after high school or after college. But I did have an inkling in high school what I liked doing, which was I liked solving puzzles. So, a card game was a puzzle, a math problem was a puzzle, a chemical synthesis pathway was a puzzle. And really for me, I made a career out of troubleshooting and trying to figure out how to do things better. And it really worked great. The only time it hasn't been so helpful was when my wife Barb would be sharing her problems of the day, and she didn't seem to always approve of my chiming in with my many solutions to those problems. But in the work environment, it helped a lot. So I hope you see why I cherish my time here at MIT, the teachers I had, the things I did, and the lifelong friends that I made. Thanks for listening to my story, and God bless Mount Tabor High School.
Join me once again in recognizing all of our inductees tonight. As we get ready to close this evening, I also want to take a couple opportunities to say thank you. As you can see, putting this event together takes a lot of hard work, takes the dedication of a team committed to making a night special for our Spartans. It's a year-long, around the calendar effort as we work through nominations and acceptances of nominations and dinner committees and all the plans that get put into place to make tonight a reality. So I'd like to recognize Aaron, our chair, our dinner committee, Mary, Rita, Molly, Amisha, and Ann, Stephanie Eaton, our media and newspaper, and as far as all of our media efforts, our past chair, Sandra, for all of her help, Chris Almarini, our photographer, Steve Kokonos, our wonderful chef for tonight, Lowe's Foods for their help with our flowers, the wonderful students from our orchestra program that played for us early in the evening, our National Honor Society students who helped to be servers tonight, the JROTC program for their assistance with the setup today, the presentation of the colors, and what will be breakdown here in a little while. And I would also like to thank Mr. Armstrong, who I see in the back as a part of our sports marketing program to break tonight as far as the video. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, our committee, which is Aaron, Ms. Potter from the Academic Board, Alan Proctor from the Arts Board, and Paul Kennedy from the Athletics Board. At this time, we are very quickly going to reconvene this group in 5 minutes, straight out the door, across the breezeway into the lobby of our auditorium, where we can do the formal closing piece of our Spartan Hall of Fame, and that's the presentation of our Spartan Hall of Fame wall and the plaques of our inductees. So I thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we will see you in just real quick. Make your comments brief with everybody, but scurry across the breezeway so that we can finish our program formally. Thank you all.